Welcome to the children's program from Leaside United Church in Toronto. Today we're going to talk about our worries, God's care for us, and about practicing gratitude. Today you will need your Read, Wonder, Listen Bible if you have one. And for our craft activity, you will need a clean, empty glass or plastic jar, some tissue paper, scissors, paintbrush, some white glue, a bowl with a bit of water, something to write with, and some blank paper. If you're watching live, you can try to quickly gather what you need now. If you're watching on YouTube, you can pause the video and collect what you need. Now we're going to light the Christ candle. We light the Christ candle each week to remind us that the light of God shines inside each and every one of us. Today we're going to do some stretching. So the first thing you need to do is sit up and put your arms out to the side, then bring them up over your head, put your hands together and stretch up, then stretch one way, stretch the other way, bring your hands up above your head into a prayer pose, back down to your chest and breathe. And again, arms out to the side, up over your head, hands together, stretch, stretch, stretch. Stretch to one side. Oh, stretch to the other side. Come back to the middle, put your palms together, and then bring them down in front of you at your chest and breathe. And last time, arms out to the side, up over your head together, stretch. Stretch to one side. Oh, stretch to the other side. Up to the top, palms together, and bring them down in front of your chest and breathe. We are going to continue reading from the Gifts of the Desert on page 62 of our Read, Wonder, Listen Bible. You're welcome to read along or to just listen. Last week, we read about Moses leading the Israelites through the desert and how they had become impatient. God had sent them quail and manna, but they were getting tired of it. "Isn't there anything else to eat?" they grumbled. "We're sick of this stuff. Why did you make us leave Egypt? We're going to die of thirst. Is God with us or not? We want some proof." God heard the grumbling and gave them a gift, water in the wilderness. When Moses struck a rock with his staff, water gushed out, clear and cold. The people gulped down the water, splashed it over their sunburned faces, and washed their dusty feet. The water refreshed them and made them feel clean and new. "My people must learn to trust me," said God. "They must not put me to the test." Then God told Moses it was time for an even greater gift. "Climb to the top of the holy mountain of Sinai," said God. "I will show you my ways so you can teach them to the people." While the people waited below, Moses went up the holy mountain to talk with God. But soon the people grew tired of waiting. "What is Moses doing up there?" they grumbled. "How can we be sure he's talking with God? How do we know God led us here?" Moses had left his brother Aaron in charge, so the people crowded around Aaron and said, "We're tired of waiting for Moses. We're tired of following a God we can't see. Does God even know the way? What kind of God would let us wander around in the desert?" Last week we talked about COVID-19 and how we might care for ourselves and others during COVID-19. This week we're going to learn about practicing gratitude. It's a way to help ourselves stay positive when our situation is making us feel negative. Do you remember the time back in March and April when we were told to stay inside our homes? When you couldn't go see friends and family, couldn't go to school, and people only went outside when necessary, like to do groceries? How did you feel? Were you scared? Annoyed? Worried? Frustrated? Angry? It may have been quite easy to have these types of feelings about all the things we weren't allowed to do or couldn't control. But by staying inside and following instructions, we helped keep a lot of people from getting sick. Today, if we choose to, we can visit with small groups of friends or eat at a restaurant on a patio. We even have the option to attend school. No, it's not exactly the same as before. We have to wear masks, wash our hands often, and be 2 meters apart. But it's something. Unfortunately, right now the numbers of infections is going up, and we may have to go back to a time with more restrictions. Along with those restrictions, we may start to feel negative feelings come back. Or maybe all those negative feelings never really went away. One way to change our attitude to being more positive is to practice gratitude. To practice gratitude, we need to think about and be aware of all the people, things, and situations around us for which we are grateful or thankful. Here's an example. Maybe your grandma or grandfather or someone else might not be able to visit with you right now because of COVID-19. It would be easy to say, Grandma is stuck at home, I can't visit her. But another way would be to say, I am grateful that my grandma is safe in her home. I'll visit her again when it's safe. Right now, I'm thankful I can call or video chat with her. Did you notice how the same situation can feel more positive when we change the way we think? In our story, the Israelites were thankful for their freedom and food and water in the beginning, but then they got impatient waiting to get to the promised land. They didn't stay focused on all the positive things they had and what God had provided for them. During craft time, we're going to think about the people, things, and situations for which we are grateful. Today we are going to make a gratitude jar. The first thing we need to do is get our bowl with a little bit of water and add the white glue to it. It's probably about equal parts water and glue. So we'll squeeze that glue in there, then we'll take our paintbrush and we'll mix it up. And you really need to mix it well so that it's all together. There we go. Once that's done, we're going to take our jar and our tissue paper that we've cut up into pieces. I decided squares, but it could be any shape you want. We're going to glue that tissue paper to the jar. So we paint the jar with the watery glue first. Then we take the tissue paper, lay it down on top, and then paint on top of it with our brush. And we continue in that manner over the whole jar. It's important that you overlap the tissue paper so there aren't any holes, although I guess if you wanted holes, that would be your choice. But it really is a neat effect when the tissue paper overlaps. You'll see that when the jar is done. So we continue doing that until the entire jar is covered. And while that's going on, I want us to think about things for which we're grateful. In fact, let's talk about people. Who are the people in your lives for whom you are grateful? Parents, teachers, friends, grandparents, neighbors, aunts, uncles, cousins. There are so many people in our lives, and I'm sure you're grateful for a lot of those people. So there we go. We are almost done. I will finish the jar off camera because the bottom's a little tricky, and then we'll let it dry. And it takes about an hour to 2 hours for it to dry completely. And we'll come back when it's dry. There we go. It's done. Notice the effect of the overlapping paper. I think it really looks quite neat. So our next step is we're going to add something on top. So we're going to take our other colored pieces of tissue paper, and I'm folding them up. And the reason I'm folding them up is I'm going to cut out shapes. And to cut tissue paper, you probably already discovered, it's much easier to do it when it's in layers. A single sheet is really hard to cut. The scissors sort of chew it up. So the pink tissue paper, I'm going to cut into a long, skinny shape. And you might have found out cutting tissue paper that it likes to squirm on you too. It moves around when you're cutting the layers, but it'll all work out. We'll get some sort of a shape out of it. So there's the first set. And then I'm going to continue cutting out here. And I think on the blue one, I'm going to cut out something that's a little bit fatter, a petal or a leaf. And then I just want green skinny bits because I think I'll use those as stems. Now, I didn't spend enough time separating out all the pieces of tissue paper, and you'll notice sometimes I'm trying to get them to separate. They do stick together. You might want to take the time to separate them all out if you want to. So the process for doing this is the same as before. We paint with the watery glue on the jar, lay down the tissue paper, paint on top of it. So we'll continue to do that just like before. And here I think I'm going to make a flower because I like flowers. Now, yeah, see, I'm trying to get two pieces unstuck. It's not working for me, so we'll just leave them together, which actually makes a darker color when it's finished, so it is quite neat. And there we go. We'll just speed it up to get through this quickly. So, fourth petal, my little green stem, and I decided I wanted leaves, and I didn't have green leaves, so I decided to use blue leaves. And you know what? That's okay, because it's my flower and my design, and I'm using my imagination. I'm going to do what I want. All right, while I'm working on the rest of the jar, let's think about some other things that we are grateful for. Things. What things are we grateful for? Toys, good food, our pets, nature, music. I know I'm grateful for music. School? You never know. What are some situations in your lives that you are grateful for? Would it be having a roof over your head, having a loving family, being able to run and play sports and games? Things to think about. Oh, there we go. I've got 3 sides done. The 4th side I'm going to do off camera because it gets a little tricky. And there we go. We have a finished gratitude jar. The last thing we're going to do is get our piece of blank paper, our scissors, and something to write with. We're going to cut strips of paper, or we might cut bigger pieces of paper, and we're going to use these with our gratitude jar. Each day, you're going to try to write or draw on one of the slips of paper. Or you can ask someone to write something for you. And I want you to write something for which you are grateful. You can ask all your family members to join in as well. Once you've written on your slip of paper, you put it in your jar. Or again, you could draw a picture. So I am grateful for my family, but I'm also grateful for my mom's cat, who's very snuggly. So I'm going to draw a picture of her cat. Try to do this every day, and at the end of the week, look at what everybody has written down. It'll be interesting to see the differences and the similarities that you have. You can do this all year round. Practicing gratitude is a way of pushing worries and negative thoughts out of our minds and focusing on the positives in our lives. Our time has come to an end. But before we go, let's give thanks to God for caring for us and helping us to see the positive things in our lives, for helping us to work towards having grateful and loving hearts. Let's give thanks for the friends and family who love, support, and encourage us in our lives. Have a good week, everyone. We'll see you next time.